Hey guys, it's Natasha Wang. I am here at Vertical Club in Helsinki, and I'm super excited to spend the next hour with you guys. There's a bunch of questions already posted on the Facebook invite page, but if you guys have more questions, feel free to send them my way, because I'm actually looking at the Facebook page right now, so I'll see it. The questions come in real time. So I am here, as you guys probably know, for Poleranking 2013 in 2 days. It's going to be incredibly epic. I can't wait. And my routine, hopefully, if all goes well, is going to be pretty freaking awesome. I should probably turn off the audio. I see myself on here, that's so weird. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and start answering some of the questions that have showed up on the Facebook page. So let me go back to it. First one is from Heikki, who is operating the computer right now with his headphones on, right here in this video. He asks, what is your funniest memory of your pole dance career? And this one is really easy to answer, but it's also kind of, it was traumatizing for a really long time for me. But it's funny now. Well, it's actually funny then, but it's maybe funnier now after some time has passed. But after I won the US Pole Dance Championships in 2011, I was asked to appear on a TV show in Los Angeles called Good Day LA. And I was very nervous. It was my first time appearing on live TV, and I performed part of my USPDF routine. And so, you know, the Cupid coming down into a Russian split, like, I kind of went down with no hands. Anyways, I fell. And it became memorialized in many different places, including a pole dance fail video that I think Heikki put together, which is kind of ironic since he's asking that question. Anyways, I fell on an X stage, and as you guys probably know, if you've ever been on an X stage, they're super loud. So when you land, you kind of crash. So I played it off like it was nothing, you know. People fall all the time, and accidents happen even to those, you know, who are at the top of their game. But anyways, it became funny because the video kind of went viral, and it was, I think it was on, there's a TV show in the States called The Soup, which is kind of like a comedy show. They like bring in videos of like people crashing their motorcycles and like, you know, doing things to hurt themselves, getting wrapped in the balls, that sort of stuff. And I think my video was on there. And yeah, anyways, if you go on YouTube, you'll find it. So, not that I'm like actively promoting everyone to go look up this video, but it's pretty funny. And I'm pretty confident in myself as a human being to say that, you know, I don't mind that it happened. I think it was actually kind of a good thing for my career in a way, because I think it makes people think, you know, people know that I'm human. So that's probably the funniest memory, I think. So, second question from Julie Dumont. She is asking, how do you come up with choreography and themes? What is your nemesis move? What advice do you have for overcoming difficult moves that you're just stuck on? Why are you so awesome? And the nemesis move that might be easy now. She wants to know what the hardest thing was for me or the greatest challenge I had to overcome in my pole career. So a lot of questions. I'll try to answer all of them. The first one, how do you come up with choreography and themes? So I'm actually here with my choreographer, Kelly Vaughn. I don't know if you run over and just say hi. This is my choreographer and coach, Kelly Vaughn. She's awesome. I work with her on all my competition routines. So usually the process when we, you know, start planning a new competition routine, you know, sometimes I'll have a general theme, or she'll throw some ideas at me and we sort of combine them together. I think somebody else on Facebook asked, when you come up with a routine, if you, like, what's the process? Do you come up with music first or theme first? It's usually music first. So I try to like research songs that I'm really feeling at the moment, and then, you know, usually when you have a song that you're really connecting to, you can see a story sort of develop by listening to it, or you can see a theme, that sort of thing. But yeah,
I think with Black Swan and the one you're gonna do.
Oh, that one, yeah.
We actually did it in reverse, but usually you do find this epic song and then go from there.
Yeah. So sometimes, you know, you have a theme that you want to go with, and you try to find a song to sort of shoehorn into it. And sometimes, you know, like it can work really well, but it also makes the process of finding music kind of hard, because you're like, oh, I have this theme and I love this song, but it doesn't quite work, or it has this refrain that makes no sense with the theme. So sometimes it can be kind of tricky. But yeah, I think there's another. While Kelly is on the couch, there's somebody else asked about choreography. So, okay, she's gonna come back. All right, let's go back to Julie's questions. What is your nemesis move? Well, any move that involves a lot of back flexibility, I just don't do, because I'm not naturally flexible in that part of my body. But there's a move that I originally had in my pole art routine that I took out, that I'd been working on for probably 2 months, and it just never really looked great. But it's you go from a tabletop and then you sort of drop into an inside leg hang, and on a good day I can get it, and then some days it just ends in utter disaster. But I think it's one of those moves that you really have to be a completely fearless person to do, because you have to let go of your both hands and just fall. And I've been taking a lot of Chinese pole classes and working on that move, and even clothes and even sticking to the Chinese pole is still really hard to do. So that's my nemesis move right now. I think it might come back for IPC if I can get it to look good. What advice do you have for overcoming difficult moves that you are just stuck on? Yeah, just doing it over and over and over again. There are some days when things just kind of work, like whether climate conditions, you're gripping the pole in a certain way, or you're just feeling, particularly energetic or courageous. And sometimes those moves, you'll hit it on some days. And then there are those days when, nothing seems to be working. So, my only advice for that is just to keep on doing those difficult moves and doing them over and over and over again, not to the point where, doing it actually causes injury, but yeah. And why are you so awesome? My parents made me awesome. Parents and hard work. I work really hard at being awesome. Doc Marine is asking, what is your daily and weekly training schedule like? It differs when I'm in competition mode. Obviously, I'm training more often and more dedicated than when I'm not in competition mode. Typically, when I'm not in competition mode, I would say I'm probably training maybe 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, sometimes 6 to 7, but that's something that I'm trying to steer away from because I'm no spring chicken anymore. So the older I'm getting, the more I'm noticing that I can't go hard 7 days a week like I used to. In terms of my competition training, it probably ranges from 2 to sometimes I was at the studio for 7-8 hours, 5 days a week. So it can get really intense when I'm in competition mode, and that's a combination of doing pole and doing Chinese pole. Sometimes hand balancing classes. Once a week I take a contortion class. Karen Bryn Orange, what was the one thing that inspired you to try pole dancing? Most people who know my story about how I got into pole dancing know that I started at a studio called S Factor, and I started about 9 years ago, and back then there weren't that many pole studios around. I think Fania had her studio in Las Vegas, and that was probably the only other pole studio I think in the United States at the time. So Sheila Kelly had this studio, I think it was open maybe like 12 years ago, a long time ago. And a girlfriend of mine saw Sheila Kelly doing pole dancing on Oprah and contacted me and was like, hey, you should try this new fitness thing. I was 29 at the time and not exercising, and so I was like, oh, what the heck, I should probably get off my butt and do something physical. So signed up for an intro class, and it was really hard and really difficult because S Factor really pushes you to tap into kind of a more emotional side. And that was really hard for me to do. But that was what inspired me to try it. And I was at S Factor for 4.5 years. And I actually recently was brought into S Factor again to implement a bunch of new tricks for their program. So it was kind of cool that I started there, and then 9 years later they asked me to come back and help sort of get their pole fitness program sort of up and running. Sona Kuchova is asking, I would like to ask you, what do you normally eat daily? Are you on any special diet? I was a vegetarian for about 8 years, and a year ago I started eating fish because I needed the protein. So I eat a lot of salmon, which is really good for you. It's the best, it's the most nutrient-rich fish you can possibly eat. But I probably should not have it every day, because I think mercury, right? Mercury levels in fish, yeah. But I normally try to eat healthy, quinoa and salmon and fruit and that sort of stuff, but I also have a sweet tooth, so I definitely don't stay away from cakes and cookies. But my philosophy is that I work out all the time, so it's okay to indulge, so I'm not super strict about keeping things from my diet that I shouldn't be eating, but everything in moderation. Sona is also asking if I've had injuries and how I treat it. So I've learned on this process for pole art that when your body's naturally stressed out, you hold a lot more tension in your body, and so you can get injured a lot easier. And also, I've been training so much in preparation for the competition that, probably overdid it a little bit, probably didn't give myself enough rest time. So I had a shoulder injury about 3 weeks ago that is just now getting better. And then a couple of days ago, I strained my back. So yes, I get injuries. Hopefully nothing that's been major or that has forced me to not pole at all. But I'm a huge proponent of acupuncture. I get it anytime I hurt my back. When I hurt my shoulder, I started seeing a chiropractor who did something called applied kinesiology, and it was very strange. So I don't know if you are familiar, if anyone out there is familiar with applied kinesiology, but it's basically using energy to fix whatever injury you're having. Yeah, it was very strange, but I don't know, maybe there's something in it because my shoulder got healed pretty quickly. So, yeah. Next question from Stella Regina Noves. You had no gymnastics or dancing background before you started pole dancing. After pole dancing, did you start training something else, or are your beautiful lines built only with pole? Yes, so I had no gymnastics or dancing background. I did gymnastics for a summer when I was 11, and then ballet for a couple of months when I was about 8. But aside from that, never really did any of that. I played volleyball when I was in middle school and high school, but I was telling Kelly this. I had a nightmare last night that I was on the volleyball team again, and when you're out playing volleyball, you serve the ball like that. I used to be really good at it, and then literally overnight, I completely lost the ability to serve the ball, and so I just never got brought into play. I was in the stage it's called a bench warmer. It's someone who's on a team who doesn't ever get any game time because they're so bad. So I was a bench warmer, and so to this day, I still have nightmares where I'm completely failing at volleyball, and obviously it's a metaphor for stress going on in my life or whatever, but yeah. Anyways, but back to your question. After pole dancing, you started training something else. Well, I think because I started at S Factor, which was very they really promoted like kind of discovering your own movement. So there wasn't any choreographed routines or anything like that. Like everything was free dances. So you really learned to listen to the music and kind of feel the music. So even though I didn't have a dance background, I felt like because I did S Factor for so many years that I learned how to feel the music and kind of emote music through my body. After I started competing, yes, I do take the occasional dance class. I find choreography very difficult for me. So when I have taken contemporary classes and jazz classes, it's been really, really hard. But definitely something that I need to do more of when I get back to LA. Sasha Beers, what do you do when you don't feel motivated? There are some days where it's just nothing's working, and I had a lot of those days recently when you're at the studio and you're just like, ugh, I don't even want to get on the pole, my body doesn't feel good, I'm tired. You're gonna have those days, and those days will pass, and you'll have days that are way more productive, but you kind of have to get through the unmotivated days to get through the motivated days. So just consider it part of your journey, right? I mean, every day is not going to be, you're not going to be hitting milestones every practice session. So, but just being at the studio and just trying to do some pole, you're already, doing your body and your whole education some good. So no practice session is wasted, right? Bailey Hart, do you miss me as much as I miss you? Absolutely. I miss that girl so much. I want her to move to LA. If you don't know who she is, look her up. She's a phenomenal pole artist. Monica Gomez, what should a poler consider before entering a competition? How did you know you were ready and wanted to compete? Well, I think when I started competing in 2009, there wasn't really a lot of options in the US at the time. There was USPDF, which was, I think, one of the first sort of pole fitness competitions in the States. And there was the California Pole Dance Championship, which was actually my first competition that I ever got into. Today, there's competition for every single level. So in the US, there's the Pole Sport Organization, and they started their competition to have, to give an opportunity for pole people of all different levels an opportunity to compete. So even if you've never inverted, you can still compete in their competitions, which I think is really great. In terms of, how do you know when you're ready to compete? Today, it's when you want to, really. You don't really have to be at any specific level. There are a ton of competitions out there for beginners and intermediate and advanced. So, but it's whether you are, emotionally ready and are able to make the time commitment, because it takes a lot out of you, and you have to be ready for the emotional journey, which goes up and down. Some days you're bawling and you're like, I'm a terrible pole dancer, and some days you're like, wow, this could really be a winning piece. So it's competitions are hard, I've heard from a lot of friends, they're like, oh, competitions aren't for me, I'm more of a performer, and so some people do realize after their first competition that maybe the stress is a little bit too much and they just want to perform instead. But what should a poler consider before entering competition? I mean, as always, do your research, make sure it's a competition that fits your style, and it is a legitimate competition that's run by well-organized people. So, Lorena Montserrat, could you give us some Fonji training tips? I'm kind of clothed, so I probably shouldn't actually get on the pole, but so for those who don't know the Fonji, it's a Chinese pole move where you're transitioning from your shoulder to your flag. In terms of tips, I would say that you should be first practicing the actual motion of going from your shoulder to your flag, and like burning that feeling into your, actually, I'll just get up and show you. So you basically just want to do this over and over again, not even jumping or anything, until your body remembers. Do you need me to redo it? Okay, so I'm going to redo it so it gets in camera. So you basically just want to like practice going in front of your shoulder and then sliding your hands down and going into your flag. So you're actually starting your shoulder mount on one side and then ending up in your opposite side flag. So for some people, that might be reversed to what they are normally comfortable doing. So I shoulder mount on my right and then I end up on my left flag. So that's like the very first step that you should do to get ready to do that move. And also spotting. This is a crazy, challenging move. So if you can get someone to spot you, there's a way to spot where, well, you kind of hold the person when they're in their shoulder mount, you hold them underneath their hips, and then as they rotate, you sort of, you know, lift up their hips and help rotate them. So it's probably kind of difficult for me to translate spotting techniques verbally without actually showing you, but yeah, try to get someone to help spot you the first time you do that move, but super, super fun one. Jessica Nielsen asks, hi Natasha, do you take any supplements and vitamins in general and or when training for a competition? Yes, absolutely. I have, in my kitchen, there's a countertop that's like every supplement, powder, pill known to man. I try to take, try to increase my protein intake when I'm training, but I have a rice protein that I take, and a glutamine powder, and take branched chain amino acids. All of these help with muscle recovery, and I think glutamine helps take out the lactic acid from your muscles. One of either that or the branched chain amino acids. But it basically helps your muscles kind of heal faster and feel less sore. I also have been taking an adrenal support tonic that apparently helps with fatigue. What else do I take? I think those are the main ones. Oh, omega-3 pills, which are fish oils, and boswellia, which is a natural anti-inflammatory, so I was taking that for my shoulder. So yeah, I take quite a bit of stuff. More when I'm training for competition. Diana Martins, since you don't have a dance background or a gymnastics background, how was the process that made you discover your own style? Well, I didn't really find my own style, I think, until I started performing in the Girl Next Door show, which is a monthly pole show in LA that is produced by Kelly Yvonne, who is right there. So she's the director and producer of this pole review, and it's the longest running artistic pole review in the United States. It's been going on since 2010?
No.
2009. And it's amazing. It's we all like basically have creative free reign to develop characters and storylines and choose our own music, and it's amazing. So I think before being a part of Girl Next Door, I felt like the only style that I could dance, you know, I was basically trying to shoehorn myself into dancing the sexy style, which I still love, but it doesn't quite work with my body, and it probably doesn't work well with my personality necessarily. So yeah, like my first pole competition, I danced to a remix of Hot in Here, the Nelly song, which is like mind-boggling that I really like the song, but like I can't think of a song that is as far removed from who I am as a pole dancer than Nelly. But so yeah, it took me a while to figure out my own style, but once I joined the show, the first show that I did was in March 2010, and it was to a Licky Lee song, and it was about a mother who loses her child, and it was very emotional and soft. And after I did that performance, I was like, oh, you know, I'm kind of feeling this, you know, like I don't have to try to booty shake or you know, do like body rolls. Like, it kind of feels good to not feel pressure to have to move in that way. And so ever since then, I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna do my own thing. What feels good for me? So, Karen Bryn Orange. Oh, so this was the question that I referred to earlier. Do you pick your music first and create your routine around it, or create a routine and then pick your music? So sometimes I pick my song first, and then I'm inspired by the song creatively, and I start thinking of, you know, storylines that could go with the song or themes. Sometimes I have a theme already in mind, and then I have to find a song to sort of fit it, which can be very difficult. Kim McAdam. I'd like to know at what point you felt ready to compete. Did you aim for a level first or a category first? So this kind of ties into the question that I answered before, but on a personal level, I didn't enter my first competition until I think I'd already been 6 or 7 years pole dancing already. And like I mentioned, there weren't really competitions when I started. So, you know, I didn't really have any opportunity to perform or compete at that point. But so my first competition that I entered was USPDF, and I got into the West Coast one, and then and then I got into the California Pole Dance Championships. But the only reason I submitted was because my girlfriend did, and I did everything that she did. We're sort of pole buddies, and so she decided to compete, so I was like, yeah, I'll do it too. So it wasn't really based on any innate desire to be on the stage, because I think I'm naturally very shy, and I'm not like a performer at heart. Like I don't like being the center of attention necessarily. So it didn't really have anything to do with that. But once I did get into the competition, it was more, I felt like it was a good platform for me to get over my fear of performing. And yeah, it helped. Still get scared, but not as bad as my early days. Vladimir, who I love, by the way. I steal all his moves. Do you like exotic pole dance? Yeah, I do. I respect that that's where, you know, a lot of our movement comes from. And so I absolutely, like, you know, respect the pioneers of our sport, because without exotic pole dancers, I would not be here sitting in front of you. Do you like competitions or showcases? I like both. I like pushing myself in a competition setting. So someone asked earlier about like competitions. I think competitions are the best way for a pole dancer to get from this level to this level. Like, it's amazing what a little bit of fear and motivation will do to get your to increase your level. Like, it's amazing. When I at the choreography house where I teach, we have so many students there who are competing these days, and just even seeing where they are, you know, at the beginning of their training to competition day is just like the escalation is crazy. So, do you cooperate with professional choreographers, not pole dancers, during your routine? Yes, I do. Kelly Yvonne, who's in this room. Do you like silks or straps? Silks is really hard. The couple of times that I've been on silks, my hands have wanted to die. Very difficult. Straps, I haven't really done straps. I would like to do more aerial. I think it in terms of if I ever want to be a performer, it pays to be versatile. And a lot of times when people are casting you, they like to know if you can do other apparatuses. So, what do you like most, melon or watermelon? Probably melon, honeydew melon. And I've been told that this is one of Vlad's during an hour with Ona and Mara, and he asked the same question. So, like, what's up with this question? So, I want to ask you, why are you asking that question? It's very strange. Ingrid Seed. What do you do if you live in a location where it's hard to have access to a team, i.e. choreographer, instructor, or even a facility in which to train 3 to 4 hours a day? Yeah, I travel a lot and I teach a lot of workshops, and I meet a lot of men and women who have come in from other countries. Like when I'm in Europe, if I'm like at my workshop in Switzerland, we had people from France, we had people from Germany, and yeah, it's I think in a way it's almost easier for those in Europe to have access to training. It seems like there's a lot of cool people who travel through Europe, and it's, you guys can take the train and get to studios pretty easily. But yeah, if you do live in the middle of nowhere, it's tough. It's tough to get motivation to get on your pole when you're training by yourself. But there are a ton of resources now, fortunately. Like there's Studio Vina, there's polearrow.com, there's Allison Sykes online pole lessons. So you can still get educated through a lot of these online resources. But the best thing to do is to train with people. So if you can get pole training buddies to come over and meet a couple times a week and have a jam, it's hard to do it on your own. But there's also a lot of choreographers and pole people do Skype lessons. Like I know Kelly does a lot of choreography sessions via Skype and worked out pretty well. Like she choreographs a bunch of competition routines and it's all over Skype. So maybe I'll post your information if people want to contact her. But yeah, I mean, there's ways to do it, but you do have to be motivated. It's tough. Ivana Ivkovic. Thank you for being such a delight to watch and huge inspirations for all the late bloomers out there. Oh, thank you. Is there a pole dancer whose work you particularly admire? If you had to choose one routine out of all pole dance routines you saw, which one would you choose to best illustrate the brilliance that pieces can have when it comes to bringing storytelling and emotion to the audience? So many pole dancers I admire. It's hard to pick just one, really. All the usuals, Marlo and Janine and Felix. But there are a lot of, and Kelly. But there are some people I've seen in the past year that completely blown my mind away. You have to Google Danielle Romano. She did a piece for, was it the PSO Nationals in Vegas?
The first one was in the South.
Okay. The one that she did recently, where she won second place.
That was Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas. So the Pole Sport Organization National Championships in Vegas, it was a couple of weeks ago. But she did this piece where she is dressed in a men's white button-down shirt and pants, and she's her movement is so androgynous. I mean, it's so believable. And then partway through the routine, it's very, I think I read somewhere that it was inspired by her uncle or something like that, but it had a very sort of kind of science fiction, The Adjustment Bureau, that movie that came out not too long ago, Men in Black. It had a very sort of alien quality. So partway through the routine, she takes off her shirt and pants, and it's by no means a sexy removal of clothing or anything, but she sheds down. She's got body tattoos all over that she painted for the routine, neck tattoos, face tattoos, and she's just this really intimidating, disturbed character, and she embodied it so well. It was watching the theater on stage, and that's probably one of the routines that has, in recent memory, really blown me away. Let's see. Oh, I actually answered all of the questions on here. That was pretty fast. So let's see if there's any on here. Okay, let's do these in order. Kenneth Cow. Oh, by the way, Kenneth Cow, you should also look at his routine from, where is it from? Oh, from Pole Expo. This guy jumps. So I've seen this on Chinese pole, but I've never seen it done on metal poles. He jumps from the static pole. He jumps backwards onto the spin pole. We're talking 8 feet distance. He does this in a routine. It's crazy. He is asking, he's saying AK isn't necessarily energy work, it's more commonly known for its muscle testing. Speaking as a chiropractor and once AK technique president. Oh, that's right, yeah, because he's also a chiropractor. Yes, muscle testing, yeah. So when I was getting the applied kinesiology work done on my shoulder, the chiropractor was testing like to see how weak, I guess, the nerve connection was between my muscles and my brain or something. And depending on the work he was doing, it would strengthen the neurological connection. So even though it was physically strong, my connections were weak or something like that. But there was something that my chiropractor did that I found very strange. So he was recommending some supplements for me to take for my shoulder, some natural anti-inflammatories and stuff like that. And he had me hold a bottle of the supplements in one hand, and as he rattled off the ingredients on the bottle, he pressed down on my other hand, and if my hand went down when he rattled off one of the ingredients, it's because my body wouldn't take well to that ingredient. So I thought it was really weird. I don't know. It seems like pretty common, like AK technique, but I don't know. I'm sort of a natural skeptic. I thought it was a little strange. Athena, 87, asks, was it hard for you to live thanks to the pole dance, earn money, etc.? Before I quit my job to do pole dancing full time, I was a publicist for 9 years, and the stability was great. I had a SEP IRA, I had a retirement plan, I had health insurance. I had all those perks of having a job. And when I left that job to do pole dancing, I didn't have any of that. Like, I actually just got health insurance a couple of weeks ago, and if you know anything about the American medical system, it's screwed up. So, if you get injured, it can wipe out your whole life savings just because it's so expensive to go see doctors and get medical care. But is it hard for me to live? Well, the job that I do, I am, I work for myself. I'm in control of my own sources of income. If I want to be on the road, 250 days out of the year, I can make a lot of money, but I have to be on the road that entire time. So it can get, kind of tough sometimes, especially during competition season when I do want to stay at home and train, but I know that if I'm staying at home, I'm not making any income. So it's a little tricky, but it's absolutely a sacrifice that I wouldn't give this job up for anything. And I recently went on an audition for, let's just say, a circus production. And I originally turned down the audition because I was like, I love what I do. I really love my job. And I think auditioning for these types of shows, most people who audition are probably, they're auditioning, they're in one show and then they kind of move on to another show. And so, their lives are about, being on contract for 7 to 8 months at a time or whatever. Like, I love what I do. So the prospect of leaving that to do something that was very prestigious was really difficult. I ended up doing the audition anyways because it was a great experience. It was really fun. But yeah, I don't know if a future in the circus is for me. I think I'm too old for it. Kenneth, again, how difficult is it to juggle the traveling and training balance? So hard. It's so hard. When you're on the road, you have these plans, these grandiose plans that you're going to be, I'm going to show up to the studio an hour or two earlier to get my training in, and then I'm going to teach 6 hours of workshops. It doesn't really work out that way. You end up, on the days after you teach, you're traveling. Like, I think for this tour that I'm on right now, I'm going to be traveling almost every day. So it's hard to fit in the training. But if you can be strategic about what you teach, you can teach the things that you are working on. So, like, for example, my signature tricks class that I teach probably the most often, I'm always teaching like whatever brand new thing I'm working on at the moment. So it's really nice when you can teach something that you're currently trying to perfect in a way, because you can see all the different variations. Your students end up doing something that you're like, I might steal that from you. So if you're smart about it, you can teach and still get your training in and practice time in. But yeah, it's hard. Nara Magrana it was a really brave decision to leave your career to pursue pole full-time. Did you have support of your family and friends regarding this change? Absolutely, I did. I was so lucky. I was working at the same company, this small PR company in Santa Monica called Roz PR, and the woman who owns it, Karen Roz, like I started working for her when she was pregnant with her first child, and then when I left, she had already had 3 boys, and her oldest was 8. So it was like I'd been with her through a lot, and so it was like, you know, like a family. And when I told her that I was leaving to do pole full time, she was very sad. She's like, oh, but you're only gonna do it for 2 years, right? And then you're gonna come back. I was like, yeah. It's been 2 years already, and I still love her, but I don't know if I'm gonna be going back to PR anytime soon. Yeah, there's actually kind of a funny story, and Kelly was there to witness it, because she choreographed my USPDF routine when I won that year. That when we were on stage and they were announcing the winners, in USPDF you have to do a compulsory and you do an optional. My compulsory was just, it was okay. The optional, when I got off stage, I was getting text messages and like, oh my God, you got a standing ovation. And I was like, oh crap. So when I was going on stage, I was actually thinking to myself like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to win. Because if I win, I have to quit my job, and I really like my job, and I have to make all these like big decisions, and what am I going to do? And so when they announced the winners and they announced my name, I like covered my face up with my hands because I was like, okay, I have to pretend to look happy because I'm like really freaking out right now. So yeah, like when I went, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want this life, because my life is like the life that I've known for 9 years. But yeah, then it was a difficult decision, but it was absolutely necessary. I mean, I don't think there was any way that I could continue to be good at my job and, have all these opportunities coming in and, decline them or take them, and then my job suffers. So, it was the right thing to do at the right time. The only person in my life who was sort of nervous about it was my dad. And my dad is a martial arts instructor. He's been teaching Kung Fu ever since I was born. And he actually, back in the day, competed, and he won. I think he's the 3-time US heavyweight champion in Swai Chow, a form of Kung Fu that he does. So he's like very kind of famous in his world. But he also worked at IBM until he retired at the age of 60 or whatever. So he was like, I had to teach martial arts on the weekends and judge tournaments on the weekends, and I still had a job and cared for my family, so it's something that you could do too. And I was like, nah, I don't really want to do that. So, but he was worried. But I think now he sees that, okay, I haven't been starving and I've been, making a good living out of it, so he's okay with it now. Let's see here. Aerial hoopla. Do you also practice other aerial techniques like lyra or silks? No, I don't. I really should. I do Chinese pole. I try to do it a couple of times a week. There's a Chinese pole artist in LA named Jacob Cujo Lyons, who's fantastic. If you ever come to LA, definitely train with him. He teaches at a place called JJ's Gym. He has a b-boy background, and now he does Chinese pole, and he's like fantastic. So I do Chinese pole, and I've trained with Timber Brown and Steve Gale in the past. I wish they were closer to me so I could train with them more often. Chaco Leach, do you have any gymnastics or dance background? No, I don't. I wish I did. I think back to my childhood, and had I just been a little bit more insistent on my parents putting me in dance classes, like, my life would be different. But yeah, I think I was too busy playing violin. Like, I was really nerdy growing up. I played violin, and from the age of 8, and played volleyball in middle school and high school, and as I mentioned before, was very bad at it. But yeah, I just didn't, I don't know. I remember buying a pair of point shoes when I was like 9 or 8 from a garage sale, and I remember putting on my point shoes and walking around the house, and I think back to that moment, and I'm like, oh, I'm so mad that my mom didn't think she's wearing pointe shoes around the house and pretending to be a ballerina. Like, maybe we should put her in ballet classes. But no, she wasn't very perceptive. Matina Key, has there ever been any specific movement that you could not get and got frustrated? There's a lot. There's a lot. You know, I think people have this assumptions that, like, you know, competitive polars can do everything. Like, you know, we have all different body types, and there are some things I would never be able to do. I'd never be able to do Rainbow Marchenko. I can't even do the Gennaro. My body just doesn't twist that way. So I get kind of sad sometimes, you know, when I see people who are like super flexible, and, you know, I had scoliosis when I was younger, and my spine just doesn't bend because it's like this a little bit. So it makes me sad, and I try to work at it, but, you know, we all have things that we can do and things that we can't do. And I think a good artist is somebody who is able to fool people into thinking that they can do everything. And I also feel like if you highlight the things that you do well, people won't even notice the things that you don't do well. Like when I tell people I don't have a flexible back, they're like, really? Oh, you look so bendy everywhere. It's like, no, it's because I, you know, overemphasize my flexibility in my legs, and then they don't see my back. So, let's see here. Hey Natasha, it's Shane. I think this is Shane from the Choreography House. What's your nemesis move? Well, I spoke before about the nemesis move being that tabletop drop thing. I'm trying to think, what is my nemesis move right now? Kelly, can you think of a nemesis move right now? Tabletop drop is pretty, yeah. What's that?
Just working that one out for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can do everything.
No.
Be very modest.
No, I can't do all the back stuff. I don't even try, so it's not a nemesis move if you don't try, right?
But all the powers, I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my problem is that I'm, like, you know, there's like, I don't really know, but there's like the fast twitch muscle fibers and the, you know, slow twitch, right? I don't think I have a lot of fast twitch muscle fibers. Like, for me, explosive movements are really hard. I think.
Really?
I have like really skinny legs, so they don't have a lot of power. But I think that was one thing that failed at me in volleyball, because I think I was always very strong. So before I forgot how to serve, I served really well. But I remember I would see the ball coming, like someone would spike the ball and I'd be right there, and I would just react just a split second too late, because I think like the connection between my brain and my relay is like delayed. So I was always like, the ball would be like right here, and then I'd go, oh, you know, like just the second too late. So, but maybe that's my nemesis, is not having fast reactions to stuff. How many hours a week do you usually train for flexibility, splits, and back? I have been training with an amazing woman in LA named Christina Nakia. She's awesome. She's so good. And I meet with her once or twice a week, and we work, and she teaches a contortion class. And yeah, she's probably been the one contortion instructor who's made the most progress in my back. And it's just little cueing things, like, you know, little things that she's, you know, point out, like, you know, bringing down your shoulders and lifting up through the chest. Little tiny things that make a really big difference. She's awesome. Nara Magrana, have you ever considered doing doubles? Who would be your ideal partner in that case? Yes, I have actually. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but Timber and I have talked about doing doubles in the past. But we're always like traveling, and I don't know if you guys know Timber Brown. He's amazing. He was just on America's Got Talent, and I think he was like top 6 or something like that. But he's a phenomenal Chinese pole artist and also an aerial artist. But there's a woman at my studio named Sandy May. She's awesome. You should look her up. But we were sort of talking about doing some double stuff. Yeah, I think it would be really good, because I think we have a similar work ethic. We're both kind of hardcore when it comes to training. Where did I get my top from? From Grace Davis. This is Forever 21. like $22. Olga Y, what other sport dance would you suggest from personal experience that helped you on poles? Sorry if this question appeared already. No, actually, I don't think anyone's asked this question. I think for pole, ballet is great for technique and toe point and extension and line, all that stuff. Anna Grunstrom, who teaches in New York at NYPD, she's also one of the co-founders of USPDF. She came to the choreography house for like a month, and she taught this contemporary dance class on the pole that blew my mind away. Like, I haven't taken a dance class where I feel like I left like buoyant, you know, like where I was like, oh my God, I get it. I get this movement. I get what I'm supposed to be doing. So she was able to really combine contemporary dance with pole in a way that didn't feel like we're learning choreography. And so that was great. I want her to come back and teach that class again.
She's coming back in November.
She's coming back in November? Yeah, so if you guys are ever in LA, oh my God, if you guys are ever in LA, come train at the choreography house with us, because we're hardcore, and there's so many classes, and it's really fun there. So yeah, for pole, you know, contemporary is good. If you can take hand balancing classes, it's excellent. Hand balancing is like the top #1 thing, like doing handstands on the pole will help you in your like deadlift handsprings, your like brass monkey press ups. So yeah. Most embarrassing pole moment from Crispy Chicks 642, talked about that before. It was also the funniest moment when I fell on Good Day LA. Kitty Laveau, she's my friend in Japan. What is your opinion of pole sports becoming an Olympic event? My fear is that it will become more gymnastics oriented and less of a focus on expressing the music, thusly less dance based. You know, I think it's awesome that pole has all these different subsets, and you know, definitely the Olympic, the world pole sport in London, that recent competition, like those performances were amazing. So in terms of like technique and physical strength and stamina and all that stuff, like I love watching that because I'm like, you know, it's the stuff that I don't necessarily do that well, like the packing in 1,000 tricks and executing them like, you know, like you're just a machine. But I respect that it's there, and I respect the people who are promoting pole dancing to get into the Olympics. Will I ever want to compete in a fitness competition like that? Probably not, because it's not my style. But I'm glad that it's there. And I'm glad that there's pole competitions all over the world. I think Michelle Shimmy in Australia just started a competition. She has her pole theater one, which launched, and I think she has another one that's just sexy.
Dance Filthy.
Yeah. Okay, so we have 5 minutes left, so I'm going to quickly go through the rest of these. What is it called? Dance Filthy? Yeah, and I think I love Michelle Shimmy, first of all, because I think that she's so like true to herself as an artist, but she's so supportive of the entire community. I love that she's giving people an opportunity to compete in a competition like that. So I think it's really cool. Did you ever train martial arts with your dad? I wish I did. That's from Crispy Chicken. I recently watched that movie Grandmaster about Ip Man, and Zhang Ji plays the daughter of a famous martial artist grandmaster, and she's like such a badass. And then I'm like, oh, I wish my dad pushed me. I took a couple of classes, but it was hard because I had to spar with his girlfriend at the time, who was like 6 feet tall and had been practicing martial arts for like 20 years, and it was really embarrassing because I was like 17 and she was kicking my ass. Sabrina Anderson, I just want to say that I really like your dance style. Oh, thank you. Last question. What is the most challenging about touring and the most rewarding? Most challenging is being away from home, obviously. Being away from my studio, being away from my cats, being away from my fiance. You know, just being away from my life and losing track of that life in a way. Like you live out of a backpack, you're going from place to place to place, and you just feel a little bit disconnected from home. And when you do get back, it takes a while to settle back into your rhythm again. That's tough. The most rewarding thing about touring, like I love teaching, and I love meeting other polers and meeting pole studio owners and staying at their houses, and of course like seeing new cultures and countries, and like I was recently in Argentina, and the highlight of, I was there judging the South American Amateur Championships, and one of the highlights was going over to Maria Luz Escalante's house for dinner, and her husband teaching us about mate, which is like this like ritual tea that they drink. And he like showed us the whole like process, and we had the mate ceremony and like things like that. Like, you know, I love traveling and learning about new cultures, so I'm like really in the best possible job because, you know, I love traveling. So that's probably the most rewarding. And you know, sometimes it's hard when you're in a foreign country, and when you leave, you realize that all you saw was the inside of a pole studio. But even that is a cultural experience because you're interacting with, you know, pole people from this part of the world, and that in itself is a real cultural experience. You know, you're making connections with people that are geographically so far from you, and I think that's really cool because we all share in the love of pole, and that's what unites us all together. So I went through all the questions just on time. So I think that's it. So thank you for watching. Thank you for all your awesome questions. They're really good ones. And I appreciate you not asking any that are too embarrassing. So hopefully you guys can turn into the live stream of the Polar competition on Saturday. And that starts at, the live stream starts at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. So you can find it all on Facebook, but I'll post about the live stream on Facebook too. But it's free, right? It's free, which is awesome. You can watch the entire competition from the comfort of your own home. So yeah, awesome service that Poleranking is doing. So thank you. And yeah, thank you. I'm gonna go back to the hotel and sleep now. Okay, bye.